A room goes quiet when the man who always replies doesn't. You feel it in her delay. She looks for the pattern you trained her to recognize. You always fed the bond on command. You thought replying faster would make her feel safer. Instead, you erased scarcity and killed curiosity. Jung would call this energy turned outward. You poured it into her weather instead of your throne. When that flow stops, her shadow material rises. Old fears ask why the stream is dry. Your absence becomes the mirror she didn't expect. We live inside an attention economy. Everyone expects instant access to everyone's emotions. When you break that rule, you signal boundaries. You already show you have rules you live by. She now has to decide if she qualifies. High-status men always understood this. Courtiers chased the one they couldn't summon. Artists became magnetic because their work came before the audience. Availability is a signal of hierarchy. If she can schedule you, she outranks you. You didn't see that your nearness was killing the tension. She never had to wonder what you were doing. She never had to re-earn your focus. Desire needs to approach a throne, not a servant. Choose to be approached. So stop feeding for 24 hours. Stop initiating. Stop checking. Stop filling the silence. Watch which doors she tries to open. Her chase is data, not drama. That is masculine sovereignty in dating dynamics. In dating dynamics, she tests for programmability. If you answer to every ping, you look automated. If you can pause, you look chosen. Chosen men guard their response windows. Guarded attention is high-value attention. She is not offended by the order. She is relieved there is order. Order tells her, your life has gravity she must orbit, not interrupt. That calms feminine chaos around you. Your silence is not pettiness. It is a structure reclaiming energy from a leaking bond. It teaches her that attention follows purpose. It restores you to the center of your own life. But silence without structure looks like moodiness. You need authority. Withdrawal is not a mood. It is a man turning back toward his center. Jung would call it individuation, energy returning home. You stop orbiting her emotion and start orbiting your task. You weren't clingy, you were uncentered. A centered man lives by rules. He lets purpose decide who gets access. When she feels you are governed, respect rises. Emotional distance here is self-governance, not punishment. That is masculine sovereignty. Look at thinkers who protected solitude blocks. Their value increased as they became less reachable. Their work forged weight, so people waited. The forge is the place you heat and hammer. You can't hammer while you are caretaking her notifications. Modern dating dynamics reward calendar-first living. Everyone is plugged into the attention economy. Most men answer every ping in real time. You don't owe constant access when you're in build mode. Unavailable for purpose beats unavailable for games. Chess, not chase. You decide pace, positioning, and exchanges. You don't move every time she moves. Your response windows match your life, not her impulses. This is how boundaries look in motion. You may feel guilty pulling back. That guilt is the boy who needed approval. The man returns to his inner law. He knows presence has to be scarce to be valued. He knows scarcity protects both people. So block 2 non-negotiable purpose windows this week. No emotional caretaking, no scrolling for her signals. Work, lift, pray, study whatever builds your throne. Let the phone vibrate off frame. They overfeed because they fear losing her. They confuse constant reassurance with real intimacy. Real intimacy is 2 ordered lives choosing contact. When she meets a man whose time is structured, she relaxes into his frame instead of managing him. Your withdrawal tells her you have somewhere higher to be. It names the mission as your north. It keeps desire awake. It keeps you from shrinking. And with that posture, her tests start making sense again. Once you accept that, You can see the trap most men fall into. You kept answering every signal she sent you. Jung would call that letting her projection live. She placed the role of emotional butler on you. You accepted it because attention felt like a connection, but projection survives only as long as you keep paying. When you soothe every dip, she learns a pattern. She can de-escalate, pull back, or even disappear briefly. You will still be there when she returns. You taught her you'd stay even when she de-escalated. You made your presence the default instead of the prize. In dating dynamics, that's expensive. Default means devalue. The attention economy runs on scarcity and contrast. If she can reach you at any hour, the cost is zero. Zero-cost attention never signals masculine sovereignty. Look at the courts and companions who were always present. The ones always available became furniture. The rare, hard-to-reach figures gathered whispers and curiosity. Access shaped respect because access was earned. You turned yourself into furniture. Jung's lens here is plain. You were Anima hooked, orbiting her moods and approval. Your energy stopped serving your task and served her weather. So her psyche leveraged that supply. Why would she pay for what flows for free? Constant texting and real-time replies amplify this leverage. She can withdraw without losing you. She can test boundaries without losing you. You keep responding, so she keeps expanding. That is how projection becomes a habit. She may call it distant, but it is ordered. You are matching responses to capacity, not to craving. These are boundaries, not punishment or games. She must invest if she wants access. That shift exposes whether she valued you or convenience. Now the leverage tilts back toward your frame. She can approach, but she cannot command you. That is how scarcity works for you again. You become the mover, not a resource. Lengthen your response window to match real life. Align replies with work, training, family, and mission. Let her feel there are rules you live by. Make your attention cost something to access. When you stop paying for her projection, she sees the real exchange. You kept saying she drained you. Jung would tell you to look in the mirror. You showed up for every wobble she had. You made her storm your weather. You chose the drain. You weren't trapped, you kept showing up. You liked being the man who fixes. Your shadow wanted to be needed by someone, so you volunteered your evenings and your calm. That was not her spell, it was your hunger. Shadow ownership is simple here. You were chasing significance through caretaking. You called it love because it sounded noble, but it was accessed without boundaries or response windows. You can stop being the emotional ATM. Look at advisors who are fused with serving. They burned out when their whole identity was dependent on it. Without the role, they felt invisible again, so they kept pouring into people who gave little. Service without structure melts men. Modern dating dynamics make this easier to hide. Constant chat feels like a real attachment. Stories and reels trick you into thinking you're close. But the calendar, not chat frequency, creates actual bonds. If she's never in your real time, it's not deep. So hold the mirror right to your face. Admit you overfunctioned because it felt powerful. Admit you liked knowing she would always text. Admit you feared she would leave if you slowed. Men who own this regain masculine sovereignty. Expect some silence to feel like loss at first. That's withdrawal breaking the illusion for both. She sees you had limits. You see you ignored them. Stay with the discomfort until it cools. Cooling is the forge rebuilding your center into something heavier, truer. Then bring your energy back to the forge. Pour it into reading, lifting, earning, and praying. Show your calendar you're serious. Women respect men whose hours are spoken for, not drifting inside endless conversations online. This is a strategy, not a blame. You are not attacking her for receiving, you are correcting your own lack of structure. When you own that, you volunteered. Once you see you volunteered, You can play the paradox properly. Desire doesn't die because she dislikes you. It dies because she owns you completely. Jung would say the tension collapsed. There is no mystery for her psyche to chase. Closeness without cost bores her. Her system relaxes when she earns access, not when it is poured. You thought more access equals more love. You flooded her with your emotional world. You answered every message as if summoned. You didn't realize that withholding attention can be a form of care for the bond. You removed scarcity, so she stopped, leaning forward. Dating dynamics reward the man who keeps one room of himself unopened. Desire feeds on tension, not on constant supply. This is where Lacan's idea of lack is useful. We move toward what we do not fully possess. Withdrawal reintroduces that small, magnetic distance. It says, I can choose when I open the door. That choice is masculine sovereignty inside the attention economy. Look at lovers who wrote letters, not threads. Distance made their presence burn brighter. Limited access raised the temperature of every meeting. The throne room stayed closed most days, so the entrance felt like a privilege, not boredom. Mystery was maintained because the daily weather was not shared. Modern dating dynamics make this sharper. Her feed is full of men performing availability. Endless good morning texts made attention cheap. The man who pauses signals other gravitational pulls. Selection becomes power in the attention economy. She chases what proves it can live without her. So leave one conversational thread unresolved. Return when your life has a natural opening. Match replies to purpose, not to impulse pings. That's how you build boundaries inside attraction. You lead, she orients. You show you're guided by rules you live by, not by her notifications. And you let her experience absence as proof of depth, not proof of disinterest on your side. This is a strategy, not a sin, not a cruelty. You're protecting the aliveness between you. You're guarding your desire from drowning in constant nearness. You're reminding her you have weight and a schedule. But holding tension costs you, and that's where most men fall. She will call it cold when you stop over-merging. Jung would say, you are holding two truths. You care, and you also guard your center. People attached to your older softness will resist. Solitude is the tax for masculine order. You're not cruel, you're ordered. You're choosing rules you live by over constant availability. That breaks the picture they had of you. They liked the man who never said later. They will test boundaries to resurrect him. Expect group chats and stories to comment on. The attention economy hates latency from men. If you don't reply, you become a topic. She may post, joke, or shade your distance. It's cheaper to mock you than to adapt. Reformers and focused leaders experienced this. When they enforced work hours, they were aloof. Partners misread discipline as disinterest, but they were forging, not fleeing. The forge always looks unfriendly from outside the fire. This is the tension of opposites Jung described. Warmth and boundary in the same person. Present, yet not programmable. Loving, yet scarce. She is learning that your attention follows structure, not mood. You're not losing her, you're teaching access. You're not distant, you're paced. You are giving the relationship a place to grow. Desire needs levels, not one endless hallway. Scarcity keeps dating dynamics alive, so end one interaction earlier than usual. Exit with a calm, apparent reason. Good talk, I've got work now. Let the silence stand without apology. That's a man practicing masculine sovereignty. This loneliness is temporary training. Your circle will shrink to those who respect response windows and boundaries. A smaller room with genuine regard is better than a crowd that drains your time. Choose depth over noise. Choose a mission over constant mirroring. That is the descent every centered man pays before ascendancy into sovereignty. If you can hold that pressure, you can walk the actual path. This was never a war with women. Jung would call it learning to relate without fusion. You stop collapsing into her waves, and you stay upright. Your withdrawal says, "I am anchored." That calmness is attractive in dating dynamics. She isn't always chasing absence to punish you. Often, she is chasing proof that you won't disappear into her mood. When you stay seated in your rhythm, she feels your structure. You're not punishing her, you're protecting the polarity. You let her chase because you're stable, not needy. Think of a lighthouse in a storm. The sea can rage, but the tower doesn't follow. Partners of mission-driven men adapted to that rhythm, not because he begged, but because the rhythm was real. A steady man gives the feminine somewhere to rest. In the attention economy, stillness is rare. Most men jump the second a notification blinks. Most men abandon work to answer a story. The rare, still, selective man becomes a magnet. Scarcity and response windows signal masculine sovereignty. So keep your rules. You live even when she re-engages. Receive her warmly, but don't abandon your schedule. Show that your calendar is spoken for. Warm plus structured is the balance she tests for. It tells her she met a man, not a feed. Because when your life already has weight, she knows she is entering order, not chaos. She is not trying to dominate a free afternoon. She is trying to synchronize with a man who governs himself. That is restful for her nervous system. Women read that signal very quickly. Micro-action. When she messages after a space, reply with presence, then return to the task. That's how you teach access without coldness. That's how boundaries feel, loving rather than harsh. And this is where your mission makes the whole thing make sense. Become the still weather. Jung would call it self-image made solid. Not reacting to every emotional gust around you, ordering your own forces first, then hers. You lead by holding the center. A high man chooses a mission before moods. He decides what the day is for. He speaks from purpose, not from insecurity. Women drawn to chaos rest against men like that. You attract by living missions. Look at men whose partners were intense. They didn't sacrifice the work for every wave. They kept showing up at the forge. They let love orbit the fire, not replace it. That rhythm made them magnetic, not distant. We live in overstimulation and speed. Everyone is broadcasting. Few are building. So the rare, structured, selective man stands out. Boundaries become a beacon. Stillness attracts the attention of the economy. This is masculine sovereignty in practice. You already have rules you live by. You use response windows that match your task. You let absence carry value because presence has weight. That makes her pursuit make sense. She learns you are not absent to punish. You are absent from progress. You are not cold, you are focused. You are not withholding, you are measuring. That is how desire stays aligned with respect. So choose one mission task tomorrow before replying. Finish it, then open your messages. Teach your body that purpose leads to emotion. Teach her that your time serves a larger purpose. Receive her warmly, but keep your schedule. Do this again, and again, and again. Repetition forges the still weather. Your presence becomes predictable in strength, not in access. She can feel where the floor is. She can relax because you will not drift. You are building a man women can lean on. You are becoming the unmoved center. Your absence becomes a pursuit when your presence has weight. Continue to guard your hours, refine your craft, protect your calm. Men like that do not chase storms. They become the horizon that other people sail toward. This is the high ideal of ordered masculine presence. Live there,